please call the roll of the members who are present in this committee hearing. Sira eh. Hindi kayo nagbabayad. Ito na lang, ito na lang.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Chairman Barbers, and Chairman Gato. And good morning, all members of this committee. We invited, for this meeting, we invited the following resource persons. For the DOH, we invited Dr. Teodoro Herbosa, but he is represented here by his staff. The PIDEA is also invited, and it's represented by Attorney Ferdowsi Masnar, Attorney Joel El Maggio, Attorney Diane Domingo. For the DILG, it is represented here by Attorney Ralph Jerome Ifurong. For the PNP, we have Police Colonel Dionisio Bartolome Jr., Police Captain Foncardas, Police Lieutenant Colonel Ella Cristina Colangen. For the Canna Hopefuls Incorporated, we have Dr. Donabel Trias Conanan and Miss Girly Cleofas. We have also Miss Maria Guadaline Reyes, the chairperson and co-founder of Sensible Philippines, and also Miss Grace Ibuna. We have also Miss Zara Oitingban Cruz, a member and board of trustees of Haraya Policy Center, Dr. Richard Nixon of Bauer Tech Corporation, Mr. Ralph Jonathan Ignacio of UP Los Baños, Mrs. also Joyce Sirunay of the Food and Drug Administration, Dr. Herna Manatad, and Maria Teresa Torres of PTAC DOH. The members present. Members. The DDB is also represented by Attorney Masnar. And for the members, thank you, member. There we have with us our members, Congressman Romeo Acop, Congressman Reyes, Congresswoman Jinke Beatrix Luistro, Congressman El Rey Villafuerte, Congressman Caraps Paduano, Congressman Anthony Goles, and that's all. And the chairman, of course, Chairman Gato. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Comsec. Okay, before we proceed, please allow the chair to deliver his opening remarks, and after the chair delivers his remarks in behalf of the Committee on Dangerous Drugs, I will pass on the opportunity to the chairman of the Committee on Health. This is a joint committee hearing wherein a very important piece of legislation is will be deliberated upon. And for the benefit of those who just attended, in the previous committee hearings of the Committee on Dangerous Drugs and Committee on Health, we have formed a TWG, a technical working group, to specifically deliberate and tackle provisions of the proposed legislation by several House members. Just to give you a summary, we have more or less 10 bills, proposed bills, which discusses medical cannabis as its subject. And since this is a very interesting and equally controversial subject, we deemed it necessary to let the chairman of the Committee on Health, who is a medical practitioner, and the vice chair, Congressman Anthony Goles, and of course on the legal aspect of this, our lawyer as a member of the committee, Congresswoman Beatrix Luistro. So let me just be clear that the objective of the proposed legislation is not to allow or delist cannabis in the enumeration under the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Law. Ang pinopropose lamang po ng bill na ito ay i-allow yung cannabis as for medical intervention. And I would like to acknowledge the efforts given by the chairpersons of the TWG as well as the resource persons who have contributed a lot in coming up with a TWG committee report. And I will not let this day pass without recognizing the efforts of Congresswoman Beatrix Luistro for going his trip abroad just to be the chair of the committee of the TWG, as well as Congressman Anthony Goles, who likewise sacrificed his trip abroad in order to expedite the approval of the TWG committee report. We will open the discussion later after we hear the remarks of the co-chair of the Committee on Health. But let me assure the public, and I'd like to reiterate that this is not an effort to delist cannabis in the enumeration of the dangerous drugs under the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Law. So at this juncture, I'll pass on the opportunity to the co-chair of the committee, the chairman of the Committee on Health, Congressman Siriaco Gato.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, Honorable Barbers. Let me read a brief statement. Good morning, everyone. Distinguished members of the committee and dangerous drugs and the health authors and esteemed guests. In the agenda of the committee meeting today is the unnumbered draft substitute bill entitled An Act Providing Right of Access to Medical Cannabis, establishing the Medical Cannabis Office and providing funds therefor, in substitution of House Bills numbered 241, 243, 2007, 4208, 4638, 4866, 6783, 7616, 7817, and 9028. The Joint Committee held a meeting for the initial deliberation of the said measures on August 1 last year. A technical working group for TWG was formed, and our respective vice chairpersons, Honorable Anthony Rolando Goles Jr. and Honorable Attorney Jervil Luistro were appointed as TWG co-chairs. The two TWG meetings held on November 21 and November 29, 2023 were participated in by some of our authors and resource persons who gave valuable inputs into consolidating all these measures to come up with a version that we will present to the mother committees today. So we hope we will be able to thoroughly discuss, deliberate on the report of the joint TWG meeting, and we hope that we can resolve the different controversial provisions under this proposed bill. Thank you very much, and thank
you, Mr. Chair. Before we proceed with the deliberations, let me acknowledge the presence of one of the principal authors, Honorable Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Ma'am, good morning, ma'am. So we will now proceed and allow the chair of the TWG to present to the mother committee the TWG committee report. Congresswoman Luisto, you're recognized. Oh, by the way, siguro for clearer facilitation of the TWG committee reports amendment or proposed amendment, because we might be what we intend to do is we'll go section by section, and those that would like to propose amendments among the members may do so by calling the attention of the chair. And for our resource persons as well, please call the attention of the committee secretary if you wish to make additional inputs or propose amendments to the section that we will be discussing. So one by one yung ating approach dun sa ating committee report. Congresswoman Luisto, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning to everyone, most especially to Chair Barbers of the Committee on Dangerous Drugs, Chair Gato of the Committee on Health, to my co-chair of the TWG, Congoles, to the principal authors, co-authors of this proposed bill, and of course to our former President GMA, to all our resource speakers, good morning to each and every one of you. While we agreed that we will be visiting this provision section by section, please allow this representation to share with this joint committee the summary of the substitute bill that we are proposing, the joint committee report, the TWG report that we will be presenting. So on August 1, 2023, the Committee on Dangerous Drugs and the Committee on Health created a TWG to tackle medical cannabis bills. This include HB 241 by Rep. Antonio Tonipetti Albano, HB 200 by Rep. Ray T. Reyes, HB 4638 by Rep. JJ Suarez, HB 4866 by Rep. Midi N. Kua, HB 7817 by Rep. Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, HB 9028 by Reps. Eric Go Yap and Edvic G. Yap, HB 4208 by Reps. Raymond Luis El Rey Villafuerte, Rep. Miguel Luis Villafuerte, Rep. Anthony Horibata, and Rep. Nicolas Enciso T8. It includes also HB 243 of Rep. Antonio Tonipet Albano, HB 6783 of Rep. Pantaleon Alvarez, and HB 7616 by Rep. Midi N. Kua. Of the bills referred to the TWG, 3 bills seek to delist marijuana from the list of dangerous drugs as provided for under RA 9165. These are HB 243, HB 6783, and HB 7616. It was expressed already by Chair Barbers that the inclination of the Joint Committee is not to delist, but to maintain cannabis among the list of prohibited drugs in RA 9165. And the clear intention of the Joint Committee is only to legalize the use of cannabis for medical purposes. The TWG decided to focus on the right of access to medical cannabis. Hence, the last 3 bills on the listing of marijuana were not lengthily deliberated on by the TWG and may need further deliberation by the mother committees. The TWG conducted 2 extensive hearings for medical cannabis. These were held on November 21, 2023 and November 29, 2023. The TWG invited stakeholders such as civil society or NGOs advocating for the legalization of medical cannabis, many of whom are present today. We also invited law enforcement agencies, particularly the PIDEA, the NBI, and the PNP. There were oppositions too, as articulated by the Philippine Medical Association, the UPPGH National Poison Management and Control Center, Dr. Tony Liachon, who maintained that there is no need to pass the proposed law as we have enough laws and regulations. They, however, support further studies on the matter. They all, however, provided invaluable inputs in drafting the substitute bill, and the TWG is grateful to all of them. In the last TWG hearing on November 29, 2023, the TWG decided to terminate the TWG and directed the Secretariat to prepare a substitute bill to be presented for the consideration and, if warranted, approval of the mother committees. For the TWG, the main concerns or bottom line in passing this bill are the following. Number one, to legalize the use of medical cannabis. Number two, access to medical cannabis is only for qualified patients. And number three, safeguards and regulations are in place to avoid abuse. To make medical cannabis legal, accessible, and regulated, these are the concerns which the TWG hope to have addressed by the substitute bill. With this report, it is now up to the mother committees, the Committee on Dangerous Drugs, and the Committee on Health to continue on the refinement and review of the provisions of the proposed law. Let this representation likewise share the salient points of the substitute bill. With respect to the objectives, the substance is to legalize and make medical cannabis accessible for the benefit of patients suffering from certain medical conditions, to establish an office that will ensure accessibility of medical cannabis, but will regulate the same to ensure that only qualified patients will have access to medical cannabis through authorized physicians and medical personnel and through accredited dispensaries. Finally, to encourage research and development and welcome investments in accordance with existing laws on investments. The key provisions under Section 4, please be guided by the copy of the substitute bill. It is now clearly stated that access to medical cannabis shall be allowed for medical use by qualified patients subject to the provisions of this Act. This provision sums up the objectives of the law. We proceed to Section 5. The Medical Cannabis Office, MCO, is established to be the primary regulatory body for medical cannabis under the direct supervision and control of the Department of Health. And for policy and program coordination, the DOH shall coordinate with the DDB and other related agencies. We proceed to Section 6 to 7, which mandate the MCO on the following. 1, ensure that medical cannabis shall only be accessed through authorized and licensed hospitals, clinics, drugstores, and other medical facilities authorized and licensed by the MCO. 2, ensure that only accredited physicians shall prescribe medical cannabis to qualified patients, enough supply of the medicine to last not more than 1 year. 3, ensure that appropriate dispensation of medical cannabis through an accredited licensed pharmacist in authorized hospitals and clinics and shall not release more than the prescribed dosage. 4, issue guidelines with respect to cultivation, importation, production, and distribution of medical cannabis, which shall be included in the implementing rules of this Act. 5, issue guidelines and authorize research. And sixth, submit an annual report to the President of the Philippines, the Senate President, and the Speaker of the House. We proceed to Section 8, mandates the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, to determine the potency, consistency, safety, and efficacy of all medical cannabis products prior to its distribution, dispensation, and sale. Section 6, paragraph 3 provides that only medical cannabis that have passed the testing by FDA shall be made available to the public. Section 9, the CHED, the Commission on Higher Education, is also mandated to develop a subject or course on medical cannabis for colleges and universities. On Section 10, cultivation, importation, production, and distribution, as well as research, are allowed subject to regulations. On Section 13, there will be creation of Joint Congressional Oversight Committee on Medical Cannabis to conduct an annual review of the implementation of this act. For Section 14, we are inclined to believe Section 14 defined the penalties. We are inclined to believe that when the corpus is medical cannabis, the law violated is the medical cannabis law. The concerned agency, therefore, is the MCO under DOH. But when the corpus is cannabis, not medical, the law violated is the Dangerous Drugs Law, or RA 9165. Here, the concerned agency is the DDB and the PIDEA. This is the consequence of the intention of the Joint Committee of not delisting cannabis from the list of prohibited drugs under RA 9165. With respect to medical cannabis, the violation we perceive include importation without permit, selling without permit, planting and growing without permit, prescription and administration by non-accredited medical professionals, prescription for more than 1 year, use without prescription, use beyond prescribed dosage, and finally, research without permit. We wish to seek the wisdom of the Joint Committee. If similar to RA 9165, we will be considering the volume of the medical cannabis involved for the purpose of defining the penalties of this act. For Section 16, on appropriation, we provided 1 billion pesos as initial budget, considering the requirement of the creation of the new office and the installation of the new system. In conclusion, the TWG, through this chair, with Co-Chair Kong Anthony Goles, would like to thank the Committee on Dangerous Drugs, led by Chair Barbers, and the Committee on Health, led by Chair Gato Jr., for giving us the chance to contribute in drafting this very important piece of legislation. We are also grateful to our resource persons for their invaluable inputs that made the substitute bill a people's version. And finally, we thank the authors of medical cannabis bills for being gracious, open-minded, and humble to accept suggestions that harmonize all their bills into this substitute bill. On behalf of the TWG, I respectfully submit our proposed substitute bill for the consideration of the Committee on Dangerous Drugs and the Committee on Health. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman.